All right, guys, and just in case if you're wondering if you can get some awesome Grand Solar Minimum t-shirts, you can. Click on the t-shirt, take a visit at our Teespring shop. We have various sizes, designs, Mari's brilliant Al Gore CO2 t-shirts, or if you just like the plain logo, I have this one myself. Maybe one night I'll wear it on the air just to prove I have one as well. So anyway, it's there if you guys want a shirt. Taking a look at our weather, well, they've done another hurricane outlook update. And it's not really much of an update. Total of 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, 3 major hurricanes expected this season. This is slightly above the 30-year average of the 12 named storms and 6 hurricanes and 3 major hurricanes. Now, if you take a look at last year's totals and what this year's is, total named storms is down from what happened last year. Hurricanes is 1 lower than what we had last year. And category 3 or higher stays about the same from the average, but also is above 1 more than what we had last year. The lead research in this was from the IBM company once again, and they are crediting this El Nino right now as to keeping things less active. In fact, they talk a little bit about the El Nino, what the role it plays here. And they're saying if we see this El Nino conditions continue through this month, that they're going to have to come back and maybe lower the hurricane outlook for 2019. Now, it is predicted to see El Nino conditions through October, which goes right through the heart of peak season of hurricane season. So this will be interesting to watch this summer to see how El Nino, or the week thereof El Nino, plays a role so far this year in how strong hurricane season. But right now, I'm going to trust the IBM weather company. They were accurate about the temperature predictions for above and below average temperatures. They put the sun in their models, and I believe that's why they're so close right now as well. Also, they're talking about El Nino, which is a natural ocean cycle. So here's where I like to connect the dots. If this weather research company is blaming what the effect from a natural cycle is going to do to our climate, shouldn't that be another hint that climate change is natural, and that the factors that go into play with climate change are much bigger than, trace gases of CO2? The sun and these rotations and circulations of oceans and ocean cycles, they are responsible for the climate. The sun drives everything, and the ocean currents assist. But not once in here does this official report, and here's where I'm going to put the nail in the coffin here, not once in this official report about hurricane season does it mention the increase of CO2 being the reason for a slightly above average hurricane season. Not once in this article does it mention anything of CO2. But yet these politicians like Al Gore and all the rest, Michael Mann, will tell you that we are going to see more intense storms because of man-made emissions. I watched an interview today with some school students who've been skipping school for 11 weeks now, 11 and 12 years old. I also made the tweet that my 11-year-old barely remembers to brush his teeth on a daily basis, let alone understanding how the climate works. Now, I believe these kids out here that are protesting and skipping school are doing so on the supervision and commands of their parents and teachers, and they're just basically regurgitating talking points. But not one of these students have offered an idea or a suggestion on how to fight it. All they keep saying is, we've got to do something now. We've got to take action. And it just seems like what everybody's saying. We got to take action. We got to do something now. But yet they don't tell us what that something is, and they don't tell us if it works or not. I shared an article on Facebook. I wish I would have shared it tonight on the show. The Green New Deal shows that it doesn't do anything to fight climate change. I think I did cover that. How interesting. And we knew that already. But again, we're starting to see things leak out now, and the truth is starting to slowly come out. But back to this report here from the IBM company. Like I said, this is all natural due to the sun, its cycles, and the cycles of our oceans. And not once do they mention the effects of man-made CO2 emissions affecting the hurricane season here for 2019. And I just wanted to make that clear, guys. All right, let's go over to the GFS here. At the end of the night, we always take a look at what our GFS is showing us across the Midwest. We're already dealing with flooding. As we start on Tuesday, some more rain moisture will move into the northeast into the evening and the overnight hours. The central part of the United States continues to see moisture, as well as the deep south and the Gulf. And things really pick up Wednesday evening into overnight hours. More heavy rain and thunderstorms across Arkansas and northeast Texas. And will continue into Thursday before finally we start to see more rain chances into the Ohio Valley. Also, where this orange and red spots are, we are also expecting severe weather alongside with this heavy rain here in the areas that you see that are in the orange and the reds and the yellows. We are expecting some severe weather with this hail, high winds, and flooding, flash flooding. But this will move across the Midwest through the South and the Tennessee Valley. On Friday, by the weekend, the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic states will get a piece of this action before another system flares up once again in the southern part of the Gulf Coast, Louisiana, going into Mississippi and Alabama. A slight chance for severe weather as that storm races out. And then May 11th, another disturbance right in that same region of the Gulf into Texas. Houston's going to get some heavy rain. Here we are on the 12th of May, and we still see some slight chances in the upper elevations of Denver and Colorado where we could see snow on May 12th. With moisture moving across the south and the southern part of the United States, slighter chances for severe storms across the area on Sunday, May 12th, into Mississippi from into Alabama as well. And this system will move through the northeast. Now watch this thing. We get a little action here towards the northeast as this high pressure system kicks off to the coast. And as we get here on May 16th, this is quite a ways out, but I wanted to watch this low pressure system here that starts in the Gulf Coast. So this will be like the third system that we've had in the Gulf Coast region that's going to cause some problems. And I want you guys to pay close attention to this right here. I'm going to move a little bit at a time. So here we go. All right, this thing starts to gain coast, and it's just raking the coast of the Gulf. So it's in warm waters, and it's going to continue to strengthen. And then it gets a little weaker as it goes across Florida, but then it regenerates as it get over here on the Atlantic side. Now this is on the 16th, and watch what this thing does here as we move forward. It's real intense once we get to North Carolina. All right, repeated the area that saw Hurricane Florence and the flooding that we got there. And let's move this forward a little bit. And now we see a lot of heavy rain moving into the northeast through the upstate part of New York, Philadelphia, the DC area. But thankfully right now, GFS has this thing just a little bit off the coast. Now, if this thing shifts a little bit more, this could be a pretty decent, sizable flooding event. This is going to start around the 15th of May and move its way up the East Coast by the 17th. And look out, by the 18th, the majority of the country actually sees high pressure, dries out. The Northwest, we start to see some showers develop, but very weak. And it looks like it increases across the northern plains, across the Michigan UP area on May 20th. And then once again here, it looks like the GFS is suggesting a new line of storms will be moving once again through the south and possibly be severe and heavy at the same time. Now, I wanted to go over temperatures because this looks like a typical spring pattern of moisture. So we get some warmth here, guys. The deep south along the east coast, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Ohio, 60s and 70s, Pennsylvania, same thing. We're not seeing that typical warmth that we usually have here in May. May 7th in the mid 70s in Cincinnati, and we see low 70s for a couple of days, upper 60s in the Ohio region, Pennsylvania. But really, guys, we're staying quite cool, if you ask me. Look at this cold front here. May 10th, temperature is highs in the 40s in Wyoming and Colorado and parts of New Mexico. High temperatures in northwest Ohio, 51 degrees. So the cold air trying to stick around, and this is May 11th. Now we start to see some warmth building, finally, on May 11th through the 12th. A warm front starts to build in across the United States. The overnight temperature is in the 40s. Most of the region is pleasant by the 14th. And we see the majority of this warmth finally starting to reach up into the northwest or the northeast. And right about here, May 19th, May 20th, now we're starting to see some serious heat in the south. We're getting close to June, folks. This is normal. But check this out. This is what I want to show you the most. 81 degrees in the capital region of New York. And they're forecasting, GFS now, look at that. The rest of the country, 56 degrees, 57 in Nebraska, 58 in Kansas, 41 in Colorado, 61 in Oklahoma, 58 in Illinois. But then Albany, New York, slated for an 88 degree temperature for the high. It's going to be hotter in Albany, New York than Dallas, Texas on May 22nd. Dallas, Texas, Houston area, 72 degrees for the high on May 22nd. And Albany, New York, you're looking at a temperature high of 88 degrees, folks, nearly 90 degrees. And I know I can tell you this, that is very, very hot for this time of year. In fact, it's very rare that we see those kinds of temperatures during the actual summer season here. Summer is not here at this point. We're getting close, but this is rather warm. But what's interesting is the temperature around the rest of the United States as a cold front is dipping down. We're warm here for a little while, and then a shot of cold air comes in from the Arctic and pushes all that warmth down into the Gulf. And you can see that line progressing more south and almost rapidly by the 22nd of May. But seeing all these 50s and 60s and then 88 degrees for the high in the capital region of New York. And Houston, Texas, only seeing a high of 72. Oklahoma City, somewhere around 62 degrees on May 22nd. So some very strange weather. Again, typical grand solar minimum type conditions. Not surprising to the folks that are watching this channel, of course. Mari, is there anything you would like to add in tonight before we take off for this Monday edition of the Grand Solar Minimum News Update?
Why not, Jake? You know me, I always like to say hello. Everyone's talking about how lovable we are.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
We try. We love you guys. We have a lot of people in like the Midwest in the chat talking about how things aren't going well planting. Matthew said no corn planted today, cold and wet in Nebraska. We got Gabriel. He was just giving me some conditions. I asked him where he was. He's in northeast Tennessee, Kingsport, near Bristol Speedway. Then you got Terry in Kansas. Most of the flooding there is here and there. She said the farmers there cannot get into their fields because the soil is pure mud.
All right, let me stop you right there. We've got a problem with the USDA department then, because if we're getting reports from these parts that you're talking about right now, for instance, Kansas is showing 6.2 days of suitable field work. Parts of Nebraska, 5.1 days of suitable field work. This is not adding up. If you're talking about people saying they can't even get in their fields in parts of Kansas or Nebraska, then why are we getting a report of so many days suitable for field work?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's made me almost think of maybe we should start a campaign and call our farmers in these areas.
We need to start getting accurate numbers.
We can sort of take a poll on these conditions, not necessarily big ag farmers. I'm talking like your local farmers that are willing to actually give an honest opinion. So it's interesting. Per is in the chat. Per Strandberg, we've done an interview with him. He says the other day heavy snow fell on southern Sweden and around Oslo in Norway after a very warm April. Frost damage on the fruit trees is extensive. And he said large swings in the jet stream caused by low solar activity happened in the Little Ice Age during Maunder minimum.
Yep,
so
sure did.
He is on Twitter. He's always posting some interesting things on Twitter, and he is also linked off of our website. I don't have his URL memorized, but we have his URL. Whoops, I'm dropping stuff. We have his URL also linked off our website. Daniel is in Central Ohio, and he says his seeds have started, but they have not transplanted yet.
And here's this interesting part. Ohio has 1.1 day of suitable field work, but yet we're talking about seeds being in the ground. So definitely some glaring
it's been up and down
misinfo here, according to the official reports, but yet our subscribers are reporting different conditions.
And
go ahead, Mari.
Here in New York, of course, it's been up and down as well. It's been a yo-yo. Today it's warm. The next 2 weeks it's going to be cold, and then cooler time.
71 today and 50 on Thursday for the high, with 60s in the lower 60s for the rest of the next 2 weeks.
It's really weird. We had it was like 70 degrees like 2 weeks ago, and then it dropped down into the 30s, freezing. Lots of moisture. I even saw some sleet. And it's just up and down. It's weird weather.
Wacky season, that's for sure.
It's interesting to hear you people come in the chat and tell us your perspective so we know, because it's hard to really track. And we can only follow what we can find online, what the news outlets, for me, social media, people like the listeners here at Grand Solar Minimum, your feedback is way more reliable than what we're getting from places like the IPCC and NOAA. So we'll have to look into that and see what's going on with this crop report, and see if we can maybe reach out to some of these local farmers that have 6 days of planning and see what the reality is.
Now, mind you, that was week ending April 28th, but still you would think the numbers would be a little closer, because it sounds like they're opposites from what the people are saying and what the report's giving us right now.
Look at this map. Look at this moisture.
This is through the end of May, just about May 22nd. I mean, the South, the rest of the country, this is about average rainfall. Some is getting heavier. Upstate New York, parts of the Northeast, Wisconsin, Kansas, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas, you're going to get lots of heavy rain over the next several days. But to look at the entire country and say, hey, there's not a part of this country that's not getting any kind of rainfall over the next 2 weeks.
Kansas, Terry in Kansas said more than a third of the farmers have gotten to the fields, as some fields dry out before other fields. So that still isn't a lot compared to
6.2 is what they're saying. That just doesn't make any sense.
We'll have to keep an eye on that. It's just, that's all we can do is observe, take note, and compare year over year with our own data, Well, thank you guys for joining me in the chat. It's always a pleasure. I'm going to pass it back to you, Jake. Close it up.
All right. Thank you, Mari. We appreciate you guys tuning in to the Grand Solar Minimum news updates that we do try to have on a somewhat daily basis. Our next broadcast will be Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That'll be May 8th. Tentatively, we'll go ahead and plan for that. But we are looking to get back into the normal swings. Hey, listen, just because it stopped snowing in the Northern Hemisphere, sort of, doesn't mean we don't have anything to report here in the summertime. There's going to be crop failure. There's going to be hurricanes. There's going to be lots of flooding that we can see so far. Our space weather is interesting right now. We've got earthquakes. And guys, I hate to be to watch out for, but we haven't had any kind of volcanic issue in quite some time. So if activity continues to increase in that department, we should be due to see something here in the near future as far as volcanic activity, as we have one 7.1 earthquake today. We'll watch and see if we have any more solar flares as well from that AR 2740, and the possibility of the birth of AR 2741. That's going to do it for us tonight, guys. If there's any breaking news, we will break in with any updates that are necessary. Until then, guys, we will talk soon. Have a good night.